Fear not that your life will come to an end. Rather fear that it never had any beginning. All of us can attest to having experienced fear sometime or the other in our life. It could have been fear of the doctor's needle, or a difficult year-end exam, a critical job interview, or just fear of the uncertainty of the future, or phobias of heights, spiders, water, closed spaces, etc. A little bit of fear is always good because it induces us to take protective action. The problem is when the same sentiment becomes irrational and disproportionate to the threat. An old Indian fable relates that a mouse came to reside in a sage's ashram. Now the mouse was scared of the cat which was already living there. Out of mercy upon it, the sage transformed it into a cat. Now it was scared of the dog in that monastery. The sage again took pity and blessed it to become a dog. However, its fear persisted because there were lions in the nearby woods. The sage finally, out of frustration, said, "You will never be cured because you have the heart of a mouse. Go and become a mouse again." What is this fear that paralyzes us from taking action and that hijacks our rational thinking? Let's first hear about it from the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna in 12.15 has said that my devotees who do not fear are very dear to me. I am reading from the commentary, Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. The cause of fear and anxiety is attachment. It makes us yearn for the subject of attachment and fear separation from it. The moment we become detached from material objects, we become fearless. The devotees are not only free from attachment, they are also in harmony with the will of God. Hence, they experience neither fear nor anxiety. The sentiment of fear is hardwired in the human psyche for our self-defense. So, for example, if you were living in the forest and a creature suddenly appeared from behind the bush, fear would provoke you to take quick defensive action. Or if in the dark you find an intruder entering your house with a gun, fear will mobilize you into action. So what triggers with fear? Our brain has a part at the base of it called the amygdala. And this amygdala is responsible for intense emotions. The emotion of fear sets it into action. It takes over the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is responsible for logical thinking. So there is now no scope for rationally analyzing. At the same time, the amygdala induces in the body the secretion of enzymes and chemicals like cortisol and epinephrine that trigger the fight or flight response. Those organs and systems that are not necessary for immediate survival are shut off, like the digestive system. And those that are necessary for fighting or for taking flight, they are enhanced, like the beating of the heart to pump blood into the muscles, and so on. Now, fear, if it lasts for a few moments, it is all right. But if it continues hour after hour after hour, it has disastrous effects on the health. And that is why we need to understand that what can we do to overcome this fear? Well, the first thing is to desensitize yourself. That is called systematic habituation. If, for example, you dread speaking in public, Toastmasters worldwide have the solution for it. They expose you to a little bit of the situation that you fear over and over and over again until you are able to handle it. So we must remember that fear is, after all, nothing but an emotion in the mind. As the Russian saying goes, fear makes the wolf seem bigger than it is. One husband and wife had gone for a vacation to the mountainside. And in early morning, the husband went alone on the cliff. When he returned, he was all bruised. The wife said, "What happened to you?" He said, "I found a 10-foot snake on the path." The wife said, "Don't you remember the guide had said these snakes are not poisonous, they can't do anything?" The husband said, "It does not have to be poisonous if it frightens me to jump off that 20-foot cliff." So likewise, fear paralyzes us from taking action. In entrepreneurial colleges, it has been found that those students who really succeed after completing the course are the ones who are willing to put aside their fears and take the risk without certainty of results. Another thing we need to do is to enhance our knowledge. So, for example, if you have this dread of spider bites, then try and understand what would happen if the spider actually did bite you. 99.99% of the spiders are not as harmful as the mind makes them to be. And the next strategy is to consider the worst case scenario. Maharana Pratap was a famous Rajput king who stood up against the Mughal invaders in medieval times. He was informed there was a spy in his palace and he had better be careful for a plot on his life. He must keep 4 bodyguards with him all the time. Maharana Pratap gave a classic response. He said, "I would rather die once than live at every moment in the fear of death." So what is the worst case scenario? Is it that bad? Somebody said, "Fear not that your life will come to an end. Rather fear that it never had any beginning." As per the Bhagavad Gita, the main cause for fear is attachment. Bhoge roge bhayam. If you are attached to sensual enjoyment, you will fear disease. Kule chuti bhayam. If you are attached to high position, you will fear downfall. Vitte nripalad bhayam. If you are attached to wealth, you will dread penury. Sarva vastu bhayan vitam bhuvinirnam vairagyam eva bhayam. the moment we become virakt or detached, we become fearless. Let's take inspiration from Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who was the first leader of India's independence struggle, and he was the one who presented the slogan, Azadi Hamara Janm Siddh Adhikar Hai, freedom is my birthright. I want complete and absolute freedom for my country from the colonialists. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak, although so active in political life, was also a deeply spiritual person, and he wrote an extremely scholarly commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. He lived his life as per the precepts of Karma Yoga taught by Lord Krishna. There's a wonderful story about him. Once, British police came to arrest him, and they said that we need to put you in prison as per section 126 of the Penal Code. He said, please give me a couple of minutes to freshen up. And he told his friend, find out what are my rights under section 126 of the Penal Code. And then he allowed the police to take him and get him incarcerated. When his friend came a few hours later to the prison to meet Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was astonished to find Tilak blissfully sleeping and snoring without a care in the world. He had done what was required, but was free from fear. It is said that once his son became unwell, and the wife came to him while he was in office and said, our son is not doing well at all. Tilak called for the doctor to see him and continued working. The wife was frantic and she said, your son is unwell, you have no fear. He said, I have informed the doctor. What else can I do? And thereby he exemplified the fact that the root cause of fear is attachment. And the way to overcome it is to free our mind from all kinds of attachments.